Right now, sitting somewhere in your house, there's a white crystal that your great-grandmother used to fix almost everything. She used it on swollen feet, on sick plants, on infected wounds, on aching joints. She never paid a doctor for half the problems she solved, and somehow, between her generation and yours, the knowledge completely vanished. Not because it stopped working, because someone decided it was more profitable if you forgot. If you have never subscribed to this channel, do it right now, because what you are about to hear in the next 10 minutes is going to change how you look at your medicine cabinet, your pantry, your garden, and your monthly bills forever. Hit like so more people find this before they spend another $100 on something a $3 box already fixes. Let us start at the beginning. 1618. A farmer in England notices that his cattle are refusing to drink from a specific puddle on his property during a drought. That is strange behavior for thirsty animals. So he does what any curious man would do. He tastes the water himself. It is bitter, unpleasant. But within a few days, he realizes the cuts and scrapes on his hands are healing faster than normal. He tells his neighbors. His neighbors tell theirs. Within a generation, English physicians are prescribing the crystallized mineral pulled from that spring for constipation, for skin disease, for joint pain, for gout. By the 1690s, wealthy Londoners are making trips to Epsom just to bathe in the springs. That mineral is magnesium sulfate. The world came to call it Epsom salt. And for the next 2.5 centuries, no home in America was without it. Here is what nobody tells you. Researchers at the University of Birmingham confirmed in a controlled study that soaking in Epsom salt water raises magnesium levels in the human body by up to 35%. 35%. And the National Academy of Sciences reports that the majority of Americans do not consume enough magnesium in their daily diet. Magnesium is not some optional trace mineral. It controls over 300 biochemical reactions in the human body. It regulates your heartbeat. It controls how your muscles contract. It governs your sleep cycles. It calms the nervous system. And the cheapest way to restore it is not a $40 supplement. It is a warm bath, a $3 bath that your grandmother already knew about. So why did we forget? Because in the late 1950s, when patented pharmaceuticals flooded the American market after World War II, the trade associations funding medical journals had every financial reason to stop promoting something that cost almost nothing and worked almost every time. They did not ban Epsom salt. They did something more effective. They simply stopped talking about it. One generation of silence was all it took. By the time your parents were growing up, the knowledge was already fading. By the time you were born, most of it was gone. But some communities never stopped. The Amish communities in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and Holmes County, Ohio, still buy Epsom salt in 25-pound sacks. They use it in the bath, in the barn, in the garden, in the kitchen, and in the medicine cabinet. They pass these methods down not through books, but through kitchen conversations, mother to daughter, grandmother to granddaughter. And some of what they preserved is genuinely remarkable. The basic soak is where everything starts. 2 cups of Epsom salt in a full bathtub of hot water, as hot as you can comfortably handle. Soak for at least 15 minutes. Do this 3 times a week. The magnesium absorbs directly through the skin and begins restoring what most American diets are quietly depleting. People in these communities do not complain of chronic insomnia the way the rest of the country does. There's a direct reason for that. Magnesium is one of the primary minerals that signals the nervous system to power down at night. Without it, your brain keeps running. Now here is where it gets more specific. Because Epsom salt works differently depending on what you combine it with, and these combinations were never written into any mainstream medical textbook. They survived because grandmothers remembered them. One combination involves Vicks VapoRub, the same blue jar your mother rubbed on your chest as a child. 2 tablespoons of VapoRub added to a basin of hot water with 1 cup of Epsom salt creates what some Amish families call a drawing bath. The menthol and eucalyptus in the VapoRub open the pores wide. Once those pores are open, the magnesium sulfate moves directly into the inflamed tissue beneath. For swollen joints, for gout, for infected splinters, for arthritis flare-ups, this combination has been working since at least the 1920s. A peer-reviewed clinical trial published in 2024 confirmed that Epsom salt baths significantly reduced pain in patients with knee osteoarthritis. The data exists. The average doctor just has no incentive to mention it. Another method that has been passed down through 4 generations in Holmes County is the salt sock. Take a clean cotton sock, fill it with 1 cup of dry Epsom salt, tie off the end. Microwave it for 45 seconds until it is warm but not burning. Press it against the jaw for a toothache. Press it against the ear during an ear infection. Press it against the sinuses when congestion will not break. The dry heat draws inflammation toward the surface while the magnesium slowly penetrates the skin. It sounds old-fashioned because it is old-fashioned. It works because physics does not care how modern your medicine is. For the garden, Amish farmers tuck 1 tablespoon of Epsom salt directly into the soil at the base of each tomato plant. The magnesium and sulfur feed the plant in a way that commercial fertilizers do not replicate. The result is heavier fruit, deeper color, more sweetness, fewer splits. The same method works for peppers, roses, and struggling houseplants. 1 cup dissolved in a gallon of water and sprayed across a patchy lawn restores green color within 10 days. Lawn services charge $70 per visit to apply chemical treatments that are less effective than this. Let that sit for a moment. For the home itself, 5 pounds of Epsom salt spread in a thin layer across a damp basement floor and left for 72 hours acts as a powerful desiccant. It pulls moisture out of concrete, out of cinder block walls, out of the surrounding air. After 3 days, sweep it up and start fresh. The musty smell disappears. The dampness reduces. Waterproofing companies charge thousands of dollars for results that a bag of Epsom salt in a weekend can begin to address. The same principle applies to closets, crawl spaces, garages that flood seasonally, and attics where humidity collects in the summer. Now here is the piece of the story that almost did not survive. Last spring, a woman in Holmes County reached into a kitchen drawer that had not been opened in years and pulled out a thin booklet with a faded green cover. It was a farmer's almanac printed in 1958 by a small press in Sugar Creek, Ohio. The pages were brittle, stained from decades of kitchen use. On one page, circled in pencil by a grandmother who has been gone for many years, was a recipe for treating deep skin infections. 1/2 cup of Epsom salt, 3 tablespoons of raw dark honey, 1 tablespoon of finely ground white bread, mixed into a paste with just enough warm water to bind, applied to the infected area and covered with clean cotton cloth overnight. Repeated each evening until the infection resolved. This recipe had been used by that family for at least 7 decades, and modern science now explains exactly why it works. The Epsom salt creates osmotic pressure that pulls fluid and bacteria outward through the skin. The honey, and this has been confirmed in dozens of peer-reviewed studies published since 2015, is a documented antibacterial agent so powerful that medical-grade honey is now used in hospitals to treat antibiotic-resistant infections. The breadcrumb is the binding matrix that holds the paste in place long enough for both ingredients to do their work. The grandmother who circled that recipe did not know about osmotic gradients or antibiotic resistance. She knew it had healed her children and her mother before them. That was enough. The woman who shared that booklet told me her own granddaughters were not interested in the old pages. They had phones. They went to the doctor for everything. If that drawer had stayed closed for another few years, that recipe would have died in it. That is the part that stays with you. Not just what these methods are, but how close we came to losing all of it permanently. Not through force. Not through any official decision, through silence, through one generation choosing not to pass it down, and the next generation never knowing it existed. You are sitting somewhere right now with Epsom salt somewhere in your house, maybe under the bathroom sink, maybe on a shelf in the laundry room, maybe still in a box you bought years ago and never really used. Tonight, try one of these. The foot soak, the salt sock, the tomato trick, the basement floor method. Try one and see whether the people who never forgot were onto something. Then drop a comment below and tell me which one you're starting with, or tell me what your grandmother used it for. Because every comment on a video like this is a piece of knowledge that someone else needed to find. Share this with one person who pays too much for problems a $3 box could help fix. Subscribe to Secret First, because next week we go just as deep into another household mineral that has been quietly doing the same thing from the back of your pantry shelf. The knowledge was never gone. It was just waiting for someone to remember where they left it.